Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for this webinar. My name's Jenny Wade and I'm one of the directors here at Blue Water Holidays. For those of you who aren't overly familiar with Blue Water Holidays, we are the leading small ship cruise experts, luxury small ship expedition and river cruises, and we've been established for 20 years this year. But today we're going to be talking about Ponant, and although I am very familiar with the brand, I have a gentleman with me who knows a lot about Ponant, or I hope he does. He works for Ponant, that's Danny Giles. Danny, thank you very much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you for having me along as a guest.
It's great to have you here. We're thinking today the webinar, this discussion is just going to give a little bit more of an insight into Ponant. So if you want to start by just telling us a little bit more about Ponant, that would be great.
Yeah, so let's start with the history. So Ponant, we aren't a new company, although a lot of people possibly will never have heard of the name before. We actually originated back in 1988, and we were the brainchild of three French merchant navy seamen that wanted to sail around the Compagnie d'Île Islands on the west coast of Brittany, and they wanted to do this on a small ship, a sailing yacht. And in 1990, Le Ponant, our three-masted sailing yacht, was launched. And then from there, the company has grown. So in 2010, we built what we call our sister ships, and right up to currently today, where we have 12 Ponant ships in our fleet and one additional ship sailing French Polynesia as part of the Paul Gauguin product. So we are the world's only ocean-going French flag sailing vessels. With that, it brings really stringent maritime regulations, some of the safest in the world. So it's really, really good. And although we are a French company, what it means is we're an international brand, we're international guests on board, but we do it all with a French touch.
Fabulous. And I mentioned, so Blue Water Holidays, we're experts in, small ship, luxury, expedition cruising. Ponant ticks all those boxes really in terms of what you offer. 12 ships in total in the fleet, and then Paul Gauguin now as well, so taking it up to 13. Tell us a little bit more about the vessels and what makes those luxury.
Yes, so the way I would describe us is that we are understated luxury. It is not a kind of in-your-face pomp and ceremony that you may get with other luxury brands. We are very understated in that fact that you'll still get the finest dining, the finest wine selection, the finest onboard facilities, but in a much smaller, understated way. And this runs right through to the fact that, yes, it is a dual language whilst on board as well across all the ships. You'll only have an unintrusive sort of announcement policy. So we're not making announcements when we arrive into a port at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then another one half an hour later to tell you breakfast is ready. So you may get one a day. So these are very, very sort of low key in that respect. They are small ships. So the classes of ships then, as I said earlier on, the Le Ponant, which is our three-masted sailing yacht, has just 16 staterooms, 32 guests in total.
Wow.
She is a tiny, tiny little sailing yacht that'll take you around here in 2022. The end of this year will take you through Europe, and then she'll head off down to the Seychelles for the summer season. Oh, sorry, for the winter season, I should say, and then the summer season, she will be in the Kimberley region on the northwest corner of Australia. The larger ships in our fleet are our sister ships. And when I say larger, I kind of mean that it's the biggest that we have, but compared to others out there on the water, tiny. So the maximum capacity is 264 guests on our sister ships. However, realistically, when you're sailing on those vessels, you're going to be around about 240, 230 guests because we have our solo travelers and they're taking obviously away some of the berths. When we sail those particular vessels and ships down in Antarctica, we do cap it at 200. So there is a little bit more space whilst on board because that allows us to go to certain areas where the larger ships can't get to when we're down in Antarctica. The sister ships are 95% balcony staterooms as well. So there's actually 8 ocean view, only 8 at the bow, but the rest are all balcony staterooms in there. And the staterooms the facilities on the staterooms are the same across the sister ships, the Explorer class and Le Commodore Charcot. So what you get is, in your stateroom, you will get 24-hour room service. You will get a mini bar, which is restocked every day. You'll have an espresso machine in there for coffee in the morning. There's a kettle for your palais de tea, selection of tea in the morning, which is really important because there's a lot of cruise lines out there that don't have those facilities in your stateroom. And you have to get up in the morning and go out for your morning coffee or morning cup of tea. And not every guest wants that experience, because you want to be able to wake up and enjoy your own holiday at the end of the day. So you want to be able to relax and enjoy and get up at your own particular time and possibly sit out on your balcony and enjoy a nice cup of tea or coffee in the morning. And on the sister ships, we have, as across all the fleet, again, except for the Ponant, we have Zodiacs, which will allow us to take us to remote destinations. They all have theatres on board that can accommodate every single guest, which will take a part of our animation team. So we have our international singers and dancers on board, our classical musicians, but we also have our guest speakers and lecturers in there as well, giving you enriching and cultural experiences and knowledge of the destinations that you're experiencing. Also, we've got the main restaurant, the gastronomy restaurant, which again seats everybody in one sitting. So it means that you don't have to sort of pre-book a 6 or a 9 o'clock or a 7 or a 9 o'clock sitting. The restaurant will open, for argument's sake, from 7 till 9, and you can then enter at will. As long as you don't turn up at 5 to 9, you're good to go. And then there's a grill restaurant as well, which is lunch and dinner, and that's an external restaurant on the aft of the ship, on the sister ships. So they are the largest in the fleet. Then we have also on board, obviously, we've got our lounge areas, our observation bar, and also the spa facilities as well. We do operate an inclusive policy, so it is full board basis. So you've got all your food included, and it's an open bar policy as well. So as you can imagine, you can have whatever you want, whenever you want it on there as well. And one thing I forgot to mention regarding breakfast, we have our own, being a French company, of course, we have our own baker on board. So once you get out of your stateroom in the morning, the first thing you will smell is the fresh croissants, the pain au chocolat, and the bread that is made right throughout the day for your lunches and your evening meals as well.
It's funny that you touched on that then, because when you first started talking about food and wine, I was thinking it's a French company, that's going to be exceptional. And I imagine there's no doubt that the food on board the ships is out of this world.
It is. It's incredible. So we work alongside a 3 Michelin star chef, Alain Ducasse, and the Ducasse Consel concept out of Paris. And he designs our menus and trains our chefs on board to ensure that his name is represented right throughout the fleet. So it is exceptional. The food on board is just second to none. And we marry that up with our sommeliers on board. So if you do want to purchase, there is an option to purchase wine, and you can purchase bottles of wine to match that dinner. However, the Ponant selection of wine that's included, as you can imagine being French, is pretty spectacular as well.
Yeah. Oh, you're making me hungry and thirsty, and it's far too early for that.
So that's that. All those facilities are on every ship. Now, if we move to our second class of vessels, which are what we call our Explorer class yachts, these are even smaller. So we have 6 of these yachts, and they are 92 staterooms. So realistically 170 guests in total, just 131 meters length. So it means that we can literally go to places where no other ship can go to. Quite a low draft, which means we can go up to rivers and getting nice and close to ports and towns. Again, all those same facilities in the staterooms and on the ship, as well as what I mentioned earlier with the sister ship. However, the Explorer yachts have one unique feature, well, 6 technically, because there's the 6 ships. But these are the world's first multi-sensory underwater lounge, and it's called the Blue Eye Lounge, which has been inspired by Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So these multi-sensory lounges are, as you can imagine, under the water level. You will go down to deck 1 and you will be immersed into this, what can really only be described as, it feels like you're inside the mouth of a whale. It's got the ribbed sort of ceiling and walls areas for the acoustics, and then these 2 very large lenses that look like eyes to the outside world. Now, this area here, these lenses, are actually the strongest part of the ship, because when we were designing the ship, and we said to the relevant coast guards and safety companies, we want to put 2 holes, in theory, at the bottom of a vessel, then we must be mad. So we rigorously tested these and there are 18 pieces of glass built up, staggered across to ensure that this is the thickest part of the ship. But it's done in a way that we're not magnifying the outside as well. So unlike something like an aquarium where the glass will reflect and make the interiors look larger, what you see on the outside will be exactly the same size as what it is in the wildlife in the water. And likewise, when the fish and the dolphins are looking in, they will see you peering back out as well. And as it is a multi-sensory lounge, we have large LED screens which we can replay and instantly play our webcams, which are dotted around the ship to give us views straight away. We can turn on lights that will actually attract in the wildlife. So when you're in the Seychelles, the Caribbean, the Kimberley region, South America, etc., you can imagine the wildlife that's coming in, the turtles and the fish, etc., that will swim past. Also whilst doing this and relaxing in a lounge area. So this can accommodate 40 guests, and it's included in the cost. It's not an additional extra. Okay. So you can sit down there and have a glass of champagne or a glass of wine. There is no cocktail making machine down there. There is no coffee machine down there because they make noise, and we don't want that artificial sound sort of brought in. Because we do have hydrophones, which we can drop into the water and listen to the wildlife as well. So we can listen to the whale sharks in the Arabian Gulf, and we can listen to the dolphins in the Caribbean or the Mediterranean, etc. And that is one of the unique aspects of the Ponant product, but also on those 6 Explorer yachts. And then we come finally to what is currently what we would call our extreme expedition vessel, Le Commodore Charcot. And Le Commodore Charcot is a 250 guest luxury, or the world's first luxury icebreaker. So she will go literally to places where no other ship or luxury product can go. So when we tested her, we thought we would do a sea trials up in the geographic North Pole, because that's the kind of thing that she's capable of doing. And I'm pleased to say that as we're recording this today, she's currently making her way to the geographic North Pole for the first of 3 trips this season. She is the world's first triple hybrid ship. So she runs on LNG gas, hybrid electric power, and the greenest, cleanest marine fuel around as well. All outside balconies. You get everything, as I've already previously mentioned, with the Ponant, and so much more. So with the Charcot, she doesn't have the Blue Eye Lounge, but we don't need that because the destinations we're going to are going to get you off into remote opportunities in the ice, in the Arctic and Antarctic. But what she does have is she has this incredible blue lagoon area, which is like a wading pool at the aft, which is kept at 38 degrees. It's like a bath. You go in there and you can sit in all around, literally at 90 degrees north from the geographic North Pole, or crossing the Northwest Passage with all the pancake ice. You can be sitting in there with a glass of champagne, nice and warm and toasty. And then when we go inside, she's got this detox area. So we have an indoor pool area, we have our spa facility, our detox bar. Then with the Charcot, again, they've all got theatres, so the theatre's on board, and we also have a wet and a dry science centre. So we've got scientific teams with us sailing all around the globe with us, and they will then share their experiences with us and our guests on board. So it's a fantastic way of learning and immersing yourself into the destinations that we go to. And like I said, some of these places, you're going to be, for the argument's sake, for the geographic North Pole, you're going to be one of only 800, 900 people going there in that particular year. So it's a really unique offering that we can give with Le Commodore Charcot.
Absolutely fantastic. I know for our latest Blue Water Holidays Sail Away magazine, we did a spotlight on Le Commodore Charcot, and the ship really looked fabulous. It was one of those, I have always wanted to go to Antarctica, and I was looking at the ship and reading about all its facilities, and I was like, this is the way to do this trip. So yeah, I mean, beautiful vessel and goes to some incredible destinations, Antarctica and Arctic. Whilst we're talking about destinations, in terms of where Ponant travelled to, you've mentioned a few different places. I mean, you've talked about the Gulf of what's Mexico?
The Arabian Gulf, yeah.
Seychelles. There's so many different places. Just in brief, give us a quick overview of where you actually travel to.
Yeah, so rule of thumb is we follow the sun. So during the summer months, we're in the Northern Hemisphere, the Arctic, certainly for Greenland, Spitsbergen for the polar bears, Arctic Canada, Northwest Passage, Alaska, but also Northern Europe, Scandinavia, we've got Mediterranean in there, we've got North America, so we do some great itineraries out of the Great Lakes, around Toronto and Milwaukee, etc. Again, being smaller ship, we can go to these destinations. And then we've also going a wee bit further east, we'll operate in Australia year round with our Kimberley program. And then you've also got our Asia product, which is starting to grow, really grow again as the world starts to open up. And then come the winter time, again, we follow the sun. So we head to the Caribbean, we head to Latin America and South America. We do the Indian Ocean with some fantastic itineraries around the Seychelles and Madagascar and Zanzibar. And we've just launched a new product also for the winter up in Norway. So we're actually going to be doing some Northern Lights opportunities, taking a little bit further up there as well. And then again, heading across down to Australasia and Oceania. And of course, French Polynesia, which we feature all year round on Le Port Gauguin, which is our perfectly designed passenger vessel for sailing French Polynesia, Tahiti, Bora Bora, Society Islands and Cook Islands. She's a little bit older than the other vessels and a wee bit bigger at 300 passengers, and she has a little bit more of the ocean view versus the balconies, but majority are balcony staterooms. But she has been given Le Ponant touch when she joined the company in 2019, so it's an open bar inclusive policy on board with full board. Le Ponant, if you've ever been to, or have anybody that's ever been to French Polynesia, they will have seen the ship. It's one of those that grows, it's part of French Polynesian life, and we bring that on board with our local hosts. So our Gauguinas and our Gaugans are on board, ensuring that the guests get the ultimate experience of that destination.
Yeah, it's very much as well, because it's a small ship experience throughout the Ponant product offering. It's very much about the destination and exploring the cultures and doing so on these luxurious and small vessels. In terms of the inclusions, I know you mentioned a little bit then about the inclusive bar. Are the inclusions the same regardless of where in the world and what ship you're cruising on?
It does. So it does differ slightly. So we have what we would call our expeditions. And as soon as we say expedition, the automatic thought process is to think of those cold polar destinations, you know, looking for the polar bears, the penguins, the Inuit interactions in Greenland, etc. Expedition doesn't have to be cold. We do have what we call tropical expeditions as well. So our expedition product is split into two, polar and tropical. And anything that has that wording or that little logo associated to it is including all the landings via the Zodiacs. It includes all the interactive lectures and talks on board. It's a fully inclusive program. And that's great. So you can do a tropical expedition in Belize, in the Caribbean, Central America. You can do one in the Seychelles and Madagascar, the Kimberley region, obviously for tropical. But obviously, if you want to go into the polar, then yeah, Arctic for polar bears up in the East Coast Greenland. We go there earlier than anybody else because of the fact that we've got that unique facility to break the ice with the Commodore Charcot. And I'll deviate with a little story here. So we were up there 2 months ago, sailing the East Coast of Greenland. And again, because of the hybrid power means that we can turn into electric power, which means we go silent. So as we were navigating our way through the ice, it means that we're not encroaching on intrusive on the wildlife, etc. This inquisitive polar bear came up to the side of the ship because there was no noise and was literally at the side of the vessel, trying to bite the hull, wondering what it was doing in its own personal environment. So giving these guests these truly ultimate once-in-a-lifetime experiences. We then also have our what we would call our classic yachting itineraries. So these are what you would probably see with every other company: the Mediterranean, the Arabian Gulf, and Caribbean itineraries, etc., sailing through Asia and Australia, Northern Europe, Atlantic Islands. And with those, you do have an option to go and purchase shore experience over and above what's included. So if you do arrive into a destination, you can pay extra to go off and do the, for argument's sake, let's say Seville. So the beauty of it is with Seville, we will sail up the river because we're that small. And where we dock in Seville, you are what I like to call a 10-minute Insta ramble into the centre. And that's walking along and taking pictures and uploading them as you go along. And within 10 minutes, you're right outside the Alcazar Palace in Seville, which if anybody's been there, it's just absolutely stunning. And you can walk straight in, pay, and go. Well, we do that as an excursion opportunity as well, and they'll bus you there. It's a personal choice. Like I said, it's a 10-minute walk. You get to see the city, or you can pay the shore experience, which is bookable beforehand or also whilst on board, and have the guide with you. So there are options.
The shore excursions aren't included as standard?
No, they're not included as standard at the moment. However, we do work with two partnerships. I know there's a but. So we do work with two partnerships. So, and these are quite well-known partnerships. The first one is the National Geographic. So everybody knows National Geographic. And when you have a National Geographic expedition, whether it's polar or tropical, you will not only get the expertise of the Ponant expedition team on board, you will also receive a National Geographic expedition guide and a National Geographic photographer on board as well, assisting and giving their teachers and learnings about how to take those ultimate shots. However, if you go to Antarctica and drop your camera, you will still get a National Geographic picture, I can assure you. It's just unbelievable destinations. And then our second partnership is with the Smithsonian Journey. So the Smithsonian Institute, which is that Washington Museum in the US, they have a selection of itineraries which are more cultural and enriching. So it could be wine tasting, it could be historical, it could be sailing around Britain and learning about the history of the UK. And with a Smithsonian Journey, you will actually have a shore experience included at every port that you go to. So it is a much more exclusive product. The other thing with the Smithsonian Journey is because it is based for the US Institute, everything on board will be in English, all the announcements as well. So there won't be a dual language, which is what we have elsewhere.
Yeah, and when you're talking about dual language, French and English, they're the two languages spoken on board.
Yeah.
In the sort of mix of nationalities on board.
So it's a full global melting pot on board. The language will be French first and then English second. However, that could change if there are more English-speaking guests and so on. And as I mentioned earlier on, it's a really much an unintrusive policy when it comes to announcements. Majority of our officers and crew are French. However, we do have Italians there. We do have British crew on board as well. And then our serving crew are Filipino. So second language for them is actually English anyway, or British. So they're actually very, very more assertive with their language skills than they are actually speaking in French. As it comes to guests on board, yeah, you name it, we sell to everybody all around the world. So we have North Americans, we have South Americans on board, we've got Europeans, obviously. As the world started to open up, the Australian and Asian Pacific market is starting to travel. So it is a real mix of guests on board, which is really nice because you can actually then converse. And although you've been to the same place, same destination, or done the same expedition landing, you've all got your own different experiences of it. So you can have this nice conversation. But saying that, with it being a small ship, if you still want to find your own little quiet place, you can do as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I've obviously worked with Ponant for a number of years. I know destinations that you travel to. For me, if I had to pick one of your cruises, I've already alluded to the fact that I always wanted to go to Antarctica, so it would have to be Antarctica, and on Le Commandant Charcot looks so fabulous that it's definitely, that's my ultimate dream cruise with Ponant. What's yours?
It's really tough. So with Antarctica, obviously, yeah, Le Commandant Charcot, I can only pick one. So with Antarctica, Le Commandant Charcot is a great option, but we also do have the other sister ships sailing down there as well. And we're very lucky with Antarctica that we targeted on two sides. So targeted from the South American side, and we'll do the Weddell Sea and the Larsen Ice Shelf, but we'll also do the traditional Antarctic Peninsula. And we also target on the sub-Antarctic islands out of Dunedin in New Zealand as well. So if you've been to Antarctica before, I've always said Antarctica is a repeat destination, regardless of the fact that everyone said they'll only ever go once. You can go more than once and have a totally different experience. But to be able to experience it from a different side is fantastic with our sister ship. So there's lots of opportunities for Antarctica. That said, though, if I only had one to choose, it would be split. My own choice is split between two trips.
I thought you were going to say Croatia then when you said it's split.
It was would be split between, it would have to be the geographic North Pole. One of those places that you're becoming a number in such a small amount of people that will actually have this unique opportunity to get up there. And yes, technically you're not going to see too much as you're sailing, but the wildlife and opportunities, and everyone expects ice to be flat, and it's not the case. So the photography opportunities under the midnight sun up there would be fantastic. But if I couldn't do that, it would be following Franklin in the Northwest Passage in the history of sailing across from one side to the other through the ice. across the Northwest Passage, which we do from Reykjavik to Alaska and Nome. So I think it would be a real flip of a coin between the geographic North Pole or the Northwest Passage.
Yeah, I mean,
Or if I flipped it again, I could maybe go to the Kimberleys.
Yeah, that's it. So much choice and so many incredible destinations to go to. I had one last question that I wanted to ask you because I completely forgot before, and that was with regards to children on board. Do you accept families? Do you have special departures for families, etc.? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have staterooms that can be interconnecting. We have staterooms that can accommodate 3 at a time. We obviously, depending on the destination, there are age limits, so it's Arctic, Antarctic, etc. However, there is, we don't deter from families, but we don't have the facilities that some of the larger family cruise operators will have. So we do have a section up near our photography and AV lounge where we can plug in a couple of game consoles and so on. But on the whole, it's not really geared up for that kind of family. That said, there are designated departures with an organisation that will gear up for taking families on, but it's more of an educational. So when we're sailing to the destinations, we'll take them off and we'll teach them about the biodiversity or the wildlife or the history of that area. We operate also a children's facility on Le Port Gauguin in French Polynesia, which is called the Moana program, which I love. I think it's brilliant. And the Moana program, again, is learning all about the biodiversity and the immersion and the wildlife and the culture of the destination of French Polynesia. So yes, children can be accommodated, but it's not a big family orientated product. Yeah. But yes, we can take them. And on the particular last sailing that I was on, there were certainly some teenagers on there as well, which is great because it's unlimited free Wi-Fi is included as well. Yeah, exactly. So that keeps everybody happy, but it also keeps all of our guests the ability to be able to touch base with people at home or update them with their wonderful pictures, etc. There are some destinations, obviously, where that doesn't work due to its remoteness, but on the whole,
yeah. Does. And you touched before on single passengers. Do you have single specific cabins, or is it low single supplements or no single supplements? If you've got some, yeah. I think you've definitely got some offers on Antarctica at the minute with no single supplements that I'm aware of, and I'm sure that there are other itineraries as well that have that.
There are. So with our solo traveller, we don't have any designated single cabin, so you will receive a stateroom as the normal size of everybody else's, depending on which one you choose, right up to the suites if you want to go up to as well. And in on-selected departures, we do have no solo supplements, so you can travel for the same price as somebody paying to share a stateroom. We update this on a daily basis, so I've checked this morning, and we currently have 140 different departures that have a no single supplement.
Wow, that's excellent. Because often solo travelers are really sort of, limited on the dates that they have that offer. So that's brilliant.
Solo travelers can often be discriminated against to basically fill a ship. There'll be a last minute kind of offering, or it'll be on just the transatlantic or the ocean sailings, etc. So within these 140, you've got French Polynesia in there on the Port Gauguin. You've got, as you've already mentioned, Arctic and Antarctic. I think there's 31 Antarctic at the moment, which will include the Dunedin departures and South Georgia, Falkland Islands as well. And within that, you will also have no single supplement opportunities on Le Commodore Charcot, which is truly unique. And this is right up to winter, March 2024. So it's a case of you can book early and still receive the benefit of traveling. Not necessarily on your own. Solo travel will be groups of people that don't necessarily want to share as well. So there could be 2 people as solo guests traveling on an experience. But because we are a small ship as well, you won't feel that you're on your own whilst on board. The team will make sure that you're looked after. We'll introduce you to fellow solo travelers if that's what you want to do as well. And you'll be able to obviously converse with fellow guests quite easily.
Of course. And we have details of the no single supplement offers and no single supplement departures and all of the cruises, because we've discussed quite a lot here, Danny, in terms of itineraries, etc. All of those are available on the Blue Water Holidays website, which I'm sharing details now on the screen of the website. That's cruisingholidays.co.uk. And if you select from the navigation Ponant as the operator, it will bring you up a whole host of different cruises that Ponant have to offer. And I said very early on in the talk that Blue Water Holidays, we've been established for 20 years. We've been working with Ponant since they started offering cruises to the UK market. So we have got extensive experience working with Ponant. We're only a small reservations team. They are on hand to help you create your own unique Ponant journey, and you can contact them on the number on the screen, which is 01756 706 500. Or if you're watching this webinar on demand and our office is closed, because we're open from 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, you can either call the number and leave us a voicemail and someone will get back to us, or you can drop us an email at info@bluewaterholidays.com. But Danny, unless there's anything pressing that you've forgotten to impart on us or that I've forgotten to ask, I think you've given us a great overview of the Ponant product and hopefully really whetted people's appetite for Ponant and trying, if they've not already cruised with Ponant, a Ponant journey.
No, I think there's several elements to take away from this. Is the fact that we are a French-owned company, but it is an international product, an international experience whilst on board. But we will give you that French touch, the art of living, that luxury element that you will get in an understated, I should say, way that you won't find with anybody else out there. Certainly on a small ship, with the unique offerings like the Blue Eye Lounge, with the unique luxury ice-breaking facilities that we have on the Commodore Charcot, and that pure number of solo traveler offers as well. It's, I think, it makes us a standout option if you are thinking of visiting. And even if you don't think that we go there, we probably do. So check it out, because we literally cover the whole globe. I can probably name one or two places that we don't actually feature, but on the whole, you'll find something there that should accommodate your immersive travel needs. And we'll be able to show you the best of those with Ponant. So hopefully we'll see you on one of our small ships, yachts, very soon.
Yeah, that's great. Danny, thank you very much for your time, and everyone, thank you very much for listening. If you do have any questions, please do get in touch. Again, that number's back on the screen. You can give us a call or drop us an email anytime. Thank you.
Thanks.